Hey mamas, so glad you are here today. We are jumping on and continuing our conversation about the power of love. This month we are talking about what does it mean to love our adult kids. Mamas, I am telling you, there is one thing that will change and impact our relationship with our kids most, and that is love. How do you love them? Do you love them well? Are they confident of your love? Do they know that no matter what they face, what decisions they make, how their life ends up, do they know that they are loved by you? We're going to look at a couple passages today that just offer some wonderful hints of what does love look like and how should it be and how do we use it with our adult kids. So let's go to John 13:34 through 35. It says, "So now I'm giving you a new commandment, love each other. Just as I have loved you, you should love each other. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples." Friends, mamas, we are commanded to love. We are commanded. It's not optional. It's not like we wake up one day and know God and God says, well, today, honey, you can take the day off from loving. It's a command, meaning we are compelled because of Christ in us, who he is. He shows us the way to love. He paves the way. We have this example in Christ. We have this example in God that we are to love. And it is a gift. Mamas, we do not get to withhold our devotion from our adult kids. Even if we're unhappy with the choices they make. Even when we're disappointed with the choices they make. Even when they walk away from God, we are not allowed to stop loving them. A matter of fact, this should be our love is what compels us to hold on. What if our love is the link that keeps them grounded? What if it's because of our love for them? Mamas, think on that. That is powerful. You don't know how much strength we have in God to love our kids. What if our love for them is the only love that they see? What if that's the truth? I want my kids to see that I love them. Ask yourself, are your kids confused about your love for them? If they have any reason to wonder or be confused about your love, that's heartbreaking. Friends, that's heartbreaking. It should be obvious. Now, it doesn't mean we agree. Our love isn't giving them permission, but see, our love, like God's love flows to us, so we get to be an outpouring of Christ's love to other people. It's not conditional. It's not conditional, mama, so let's not make it conditional. Let's look at this passage in Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 13:7 says, "Love never gives up. It never loses faith. It is always hopeful and endures through every circumstance." Now, mama, you are going to want to quit loving. You're going to want to quit. You're going to one day wake up and say, I don't know if I can love this child anymore. And you may be entitled to feel that way because it's probably been hard. But you know what? We can't quit. Love doesn't quit. Love doesn't give up. And so we have to have that same tenacity. Could we be the difference? You're going to become weary in waiting, mom. You're going to become weary and waiting for your child's life to turn around, to go a different way, to make a different decision. But we cannot get weary in the waiting. God is still in the midst of the waiting. He is still at work. And so remember, mamas, God is always writing our kids' stories, and we are not. And so we don't know how this is going to play out. But in the waiting, we run to God, and we trust God, and we work with God. And you will never get tired of that. So don't give up, mom. There are days when you're going to feel like you want to get up. And so in those moments, we go to God. We bring it. We always go back to him and we say, God, what can I do with this? Because I'm frustrated. I'm growing weary. And he alone knows this. And so don't feel bad about being human about it, but don't give up. Just have honest conversations with God. He already knows what you're thinking. And don't pretend that you're not upset because our God isn't into that either. We get to be honest. We get to say, this is really hard, Lord. I'm tired of waiting. I personally have been waiting for some kids to return to the Lord for years. But I am not going to give up. And I am not going to stop loving them because they deserve to be loved. Those are God's kids and he is at work. And I'm not the boss of how this goes. And I trust God's timing. And so I lean in. And I hold on to God. And He and I have a lot of conversations. And He lets me cry and He lets me fuss. But He always says, honey, I've got them. You've got to trust me. And so I do. Love perseveres through hardship, through disappointment, through hopelessness. Have you ever felt that with your kids? You've walked through terrible seasons with them. You've walked through hardship. You've walked through disappointment. But love never quits. It never gives up. Because that's who our God is. Could you, Mama, be the one source of unconditional love to your child? Wouldn't that be amazing? I pray all the time that God overwhelms my kids with His love. I want to be overwhelmed by God's love so that I can pour it out to them. But I also know that God is pursuing them at the same time and that they would just be overwhelmed by His love. That God would meet them in such specific ways that they would know that it's Him. And I believe that He's doing it. And I hold on in the waiting. So mamas, instead of rescuing and persuading and cajoling, could we instead lead with love? I want you to think about this for a minute. When your adult child sees you, do they see love in your eyes? When you have conversations with your adult child, do they hear love in your tone? Because they need to know they are loved. We don't have to fix any of their things. That's God's job. Our highest calling is to love them. As a parent, as a woman who loves God, our highest calling is to love our kids. Now, yes, sometimes that will involve some hard boundaries. If your child is unsafe, if your child is struggling with addiction, it's loving to have boundaries. It's not unkind. So we have to be wise in how we love. But just know that love is our calling as mamas. It's our highest calling, and we get to do it. And next time when we come together, we're going to talk about an example from the Bible. And there's a story about a father and the son. And usually we focus on the son, but in this time, we're going to focus on the father because we can get some amazing cues from this father about what it meant to love, how to love well. So tune in next time and we'll talk about that. Thanks for listening. If you would like to be part of a community of other midlife mamas, please join us in the Facebook group where we have live conversations just like this each week. To catch all the latest from me, follow me on Instagram at @PHinkelman. And for show notes, head to my website, PamelaHinkelman.com/podcast for all my free resources to support midlife mamas. Until next time, remember, there's grace for the next phase of parenting.